Over the last 6 years, I have scripted and filmed over 400 video ads online that have generated upwards of $15 million. And there are some key pillars that I've noticed in that time that ultimately make the difference between an ad that is profitable and one that is going to waste your money, have you wondering what on earth went wrong, and have you crying into your pillow each and every night. As well as that, in this video, I'm going to be unearthing some critical mistakes that you're probably making in your video ads right now that are being taught by a lot of people that say they know what they're doing. And I'm also, at the end, going to be breaking down a simple video script structure that will have you writing profitable ads in just a matter of minutes. So there's a lot I want to cover, so let's get straight into it. But let me quickly just address the elephant in the room. No, I am not John Penberthy. You're on a John Penberthy video on John Penberthy's channel, but John Penberthy seems to have either just been slapped around the face by puberty and grown a beard, or has just magically woken up extremely handsome. No, my name's Pete. I deal with everything to do with video at John Penberthy's company, AdClients. So that is scripting, filming, and editing our videos, and why I'm the person in the seat today to tell you how to create these profitable ads just for yourself. There are essentially 5 pillars that I want to go through before I then get into giving you a framework and structure for this. And it's super important that you understand each pillar, because each pillar is going to set you up perfectly to be able to make writing a script as fast as possible, as simple as possible, and as best as you possibly can as well. So let's get into the first pillar that makes a super impactful and profitable video ad. It's the beginning of your video ad. Okay, now I know you've probably heard this elsewhere. You've got to capture people's attention, and no matter what you do, you need to make sure you stand out above the crowd. And yes, I'm not going against that at all, but I want to hammer home how important it is. In context to YouTube advertising, and really where this goes into any other social media platform that either you're going to be advertising on or putting a video on, the attention span of humans right now is like a goldfish. It's insane, okay? And we need to give a reason for the person watching your video to stick around. Now, we're not telling them to watch the whole thing yet, but that beginning bit needs to convince them to just keep holding on that little bit longer. A perfect example of this is the skip button on a YouTube video, okay? How many of you watching this video right now, and let me know in the comments if this is you, hold your thumb over the skip button before the video has even started playing? You know exactly where it is. You are not looking for a reason to skip. You're looking for a reason not to skip. And ultimately, that's what we need to do in this first 5 seconds. Now, the introduction, I think, really needs to be about 5 to 15 seconds long. That's the kind of general length that I would go for when looking to intrigue someone enough. But that 5 seconds is absolutely vital. A funny thing that I say to a lot of our clients, that I would go as far to say that in your first 5 seconds of any video that you're using to market in front of someone, especially YouTube ads, don't breathe. Now, disclaimer here, you can breathe for the rest of the ad. I don't want anyone coming across this video and trying to sue me afterwards, but don't breathe for that first 5 seconds of your ad, because if you even take one breath that is too long, let's leave this for an example. If I take a breath, okay, 1 second, that was probably longer than a second. If you don't utilize 1 second correctly, that was 20% of the time that you had to attract their attention and convince them not to press that skip button. So you don't want to breathe in the beginning of your ads. You want to utilize all of the time that you have in that. Now, I'm not saying that you then need to get every part of your ad into the first 5 seconds, okay? That's neon impossible, and I would be very impressed if you could do that. And if you can, please come along and teach me how to do that. But you do need to make sure you're utilizing that first 5 seconds the best way you possibly can. Okay, I'm going to get into how you can utilize the first 5 seconds in the best way you possibly can. But first, I want to explain what not to do in that first 5 seconds. There are 2 things that are big pet peeves for me that I see so many people doing online. Number 1 is introducing themselves in that first 5 seconds, or wasting time showing their surroundings. Have any of you ever seen those ads where they're like, hey, so this is Pete right now, and I'm just chilling here on a beach, and I wanted to tell you about... It's like, dude, what a waste of time. That first 5 seconds was so important, and all you have done there is told them your name that you're on a beach. The person watching this does not know whether this ad is for them. This person watching this does not know what benefit it is going to be for them to stick around and watch this. And so they want to skip and go ahead and watch whatever cat video they were about to watch, or dog compilation video on YouTube. The second thing that so many people make a mistake doing is trying to ask them not to click the skip button in the beginning. It blows my mind, okay? You telling them not to skip the button is not going to convince them not to skip that skip button. Press that skip button. So many people said, hold on, wait, if you're this, don't skip. It's like, well, you haven't actually given them a reason not to skip. You can't just ask someone not to when you're the one interrupting their time, their relaxation time, their learning time on YouTube. You need to give them a reason not to skip, not just tell them not to. Okay, so the last thing you want to be doing is, hey, hold on, don't press that skip button, because and it's like, your 5 seconds are up. Like, all you've asked them to do is not skip. You haven't actually done what you need to do, which is what I'm going to tell you right now. What you need to do in that first 5 seconds is call out who they are and what's something that they are struggling with. Okay, this is so important. If you don't call out who you are looking for, well, they won't know that this ad is for them. And if you don't call out a pain or a frustration or a situation they're in that you know you can help with and they are struggling with, well, they're not going to know this ad is there, therefore going to be the thing that helps them. So for a perfect example here, say you're a fitness coach online and you only work with women over 40 who are currently in a bit of a rut with their fitness and you know they want to lose weight. Okay, then you want to call out women over 40 and the fact and a struggle that they're going through to lose weight. Now, I wouldn't go so broad and just say, hey, you're a woman over 40 want to lose weight. You get in deep with it. And I'm going to go into this in far more detail in probably the next point. Okay, getting into how you should speak to this, how you can pull on these pains and how you can really convince someone that you understand their problem. But it's super important that you do at least get to grips with it a little bit in that introduction to make them go, oh, like that really is me. And that's so specific that it can only be talking to me. So for example, if it was the fitness story, hey, you're a woman over 40 and you're currently going to the gym, but seeing other people lose weight around you, but you're stuck. Or maybe, hey, you're a woman over 40 and you've got so many clothes in your wardrobe that don't fit anymore and you would love to feel comfortable in your skin again. You know, we're not just saying, hey, you a woman over 40 that's looking to lose weight. No, we're pulling on the pain of a situation that you know that you're currently going through. You know that they are feeling that because you know your ideal audience as well as you do. The best thing about this is we're getting straight to the point. We're not dilly-dallying around. We're not wasting their time. We're getting straight to the point. You're saying, hey, look, you're this person and you're struggling with this. If a woman over 40 comes across that ad and is currently feeling the pain of like wanting to wear a dress that she's had in the wardrobe for ages but can't quite get into it yet, she is going to feel like, oh my word, this ad is speaking to me. This ad is for me. Now I'm going to hold off a couple seconds to hear what more this person has to say. Now, we're not saying in that first 5 seconds we're convincing them to click, go through, spend money. Okay, we're convincing them to just hold on just a little bit longer so they can hear what more you have to say. And that leads perfectly into my next point. Something that John talks about all the time and has mentioned multiple times on this YouTube channel is something that we call displayed understanding. We teach it to our clients. We go heavy in on it with our clients because it is the key to having any marketing message that connects with your audience and has them wanting to check out what you've got to offer. Displayed understanding is literally what it does in the tin, okay? What it says on the tin. Displayed understanding is how we display that we understand them. A good phrase I like to say to our clients to really cement in how important displayed understanding is in your advertisements is this, and get a notepad and pen if you want to write this down or just replay this and get it synced into your head. Okay, it's this. No one will be interested in your solution if you don't yet prove that you understand the problem. I'm going to say that once more, okay? No one will be interested in your solution if you haven't proven that you understand the problem in the first place. It is so key that you get this. It is so key that you go through the pains, the frustrations, the stories, the feelings that the person on the other side of the screen is going through, so that when you do offer a solution, they think, oh my word, this solution must work for me because this person telling it clearly understands the problem that I have right now, so this solution must work for me. And I'm not talking about glossing over the pains and frustrations quickly. I'm talking about going into detail. Okay, as I mentioned in that introduction, you don't just say you want to lose weight. No, you get to grips with the things that they've tried. Again, with weight loss, it could be not fitting into clothes. It could be not being able to play with their kids as much now. Feeling the pain of just walking upstairs and wishing they were as fit, maybe wishing that they could play sport like they did when they were younger. There are so many specific pains that you could go into that will pull on someone far more than if you would just say you wanted to lose weight. And this actually leads me into something I wasn't planning on mentioning, but the reason why we talk about pains and frustrations so much and situations they're going through instead of talking about what we want them to achieve is because someone is far more likely to want to get a solution to pain than to then get the outcome after the solution. Hopefully that makes sense, and if not, we're going to explain it a bit more. If you just keep telling them what could happen for them, hey, you could be this fit, you could be feeling this way, you could fit into that dress, you could be really, really fit and healthy and play that sport again. Now, that's okay, but they currently don't know what the feeling is of being able to do that. So they don't really have a personal connection to it yet. They know that that is ultimately what they want further down the line, but what they're feeling right now, what they understand and have the tangible knowledge and feeling of what it feels like right now is the pain that they're in. So it's far easier to connect with someone's story if you go through the pains and frustrations that they're trying to get away from right now, rather than the things they're just trying to grasp at. Hopefully that makes sense and sinks in. And if it hasn't, please go back and rewatch that because it's so vital for any of your marketing message. Now, if you get stuck on how you can connect and what things you can say in this kind of displayed understanding part of your video or throughout your video, a really good way of doing this, and a really good tip for you, is start crapping on the other things you know they've tried and haven't worked. This does two things. Number one, it resonates with the fact that they've tried all these things and they haven't worked. So whatever that you offer later in this video must be different to those things. But then number two, sets your thing up on a pedestal. Okay, all these other things they know they've tried, or things that other people are talking about that haven't worked, are down here, and now you're up here, and they're far more interested in finding out about it because it sounds wildly different to the things that you're talking about. Now, pillar number 3, I've already touched on ever so slightly, but something that a lot of people are doing wrong in the industry. Okay, and it's introducing themselves. Now, I've already mentioned that in the beginning, like you don't want to introduce yourself at the beginning of your ad, but I would go as far to say is that you shouldn't introduce yourself at all through the ad. Okay, especially if you're just starting out. There are a few reasons for this, but the main one being, quite frankly, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but they don't care who you are. It hurts me to say, and I know you're probably feeling my pain, but the person watching your ad does not care who you are. They only care if you have a solution to their problem and if you understand their problem in the first place. So if you waste time in your ad introducing who you are, why they should listen to you in that way, and kind of setting your credentials, or maybe just going into like a bit of your background or story, okay? And it's good to tell some story, but you need to tell the correct kind of story, and I'm going to get into that in literally the next point. But if you just start going on about yourself, well, now the ad is about you and not about them. Too many people are currently making this mistake, thinking it's their credentials and who they are that sells the person on the other side of the screen to move through and check out their services or product, but it's not true. It's how you speak to the person. It's how you show how well you understand them. And that kind of leads perfectly into this and how you should tell your story if you are going to do it. And it's by telling their story. Now, I know that sounds weird, so let me explain. If you're going to be telling your story, you only want to be telling parts of your story that directly resonate with the person on the other side of the screen. There is no point you being too specific about your own story that the person on the side of the screen doesn't resonate with it. Okay? If you start telling parts of your story that are just so specific to what you went through and how you managed to fix it for yourself and things like that, but really only you could have gone through that, then the person on the other side of the screen is going to feel distant from that. It's going to feel like your solution won't work for them because it worked for you and your situation was so different. So when you do tell your story, this is the correct way to do it. You tell the parts of your story you know they will directly resonate with. Now, don't make up your story. Don't lie about your story. That is literally the last thing I'm telling you. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but you tell the parts of your story that you know that they will connect with. Okay, you don't tell the parts of the story that you know that they don't connect with. Okay, otherwise, when you get to telling the solution, they won't feel like it matches up. Now, a question I often get asked by clients is, but what if my story isn't the same as the person that I'm trying to help? And that's absolutely fine. Not to worry. At this point, that's when we start telling the story of others or people that we have helped in place of that. Say, for example, you're a personal trainer and you help people lose weight, but personally, you didn't go through a weight loss journey. You were always just interested in fitness and you are quite lean and you know how to best help these people that want to lose weight. Well, then you wouldn't tell that story because the person watching this video won't resonate with that because that's not what their story is. But what you could say is, I've always liked fitness, so I've wanted to help those. So I have, for example, a client, and then you can mention a client, or you can mention why you understand their problem, why you understand the situation they're in, and why you're the best person to fix that problem for them or give them a solution, using maybe a client's example or just looking around in the industry around you. And this leads perfectly onto my pillar number 4, which is how you position the solution in your marketing messaging and your video ads as well. Once you have shown such a clear understanding of the problem and situation that they have, they're going to be far more inclined to hear out what your solution is as well. And there are some vital things that you need to do here to make your solution sound like the thing that they need. And number 1 of that is not actually selling the intricate details of your solution. You don't want to over-explain or your solution to the point of boredom, to the point of convincing someone, actually, maybe this sounds too complicated or too much work or whatever it is. But instead, you need to sell them on the outcomes of using your solution. An example of this is if you're selling, say, a training course online, you don't then go through and break down every single thing that is included in this training course, like what modules there are, what this is in there, what that is in there, what calls you get, what, oh my goodness, I'm boring myself already. No, you go in and say you've got a training course that ultimately goes through this very quickly, like a very brief sentence that explains what it goes through, that then gets you this, the outcome, the thing that they are looking to get. the desired outcome that you know that they are ultimately searching for, that big thing that we mentioned later, okay, that you know that they are looking for. A great analogy that I heard before, and I cannot remember who told me this before, but a really good way of thinking about this is if you go into a shop because you need to drill a hole and you go and buy a drill, you're not bothered about how fast that drill can go, how powerful it is, not really bothered about how long the battery life is. You're not really bothered about the color or anything. You're just going because you're trying to get the hole. So that's what you're buying. You're not buying the drill, you're buying the hole that the drill makes. So you need to sell your audience, the person watching your video, on the hole that you can create. Now that sounds weird, but as in the outcome that you can create rather than the drill itself, and over-explain it to the point of your audience being put off. And pillar number 5 is a super short but super important one, and then I'm going to be getting into the video script breakdown that I think you guys should be using to create profitable ads. Now, number 5 is the length in which you should spend the time doing this. How long should your video ad be? Ultimately, we don't want to make it too long, but we don't want to make it too short. Okay, now I know that is very, very vague, so let me go into it in a little bit more detail. We don't really want to make it too short, because if you make it too short, or you try and get it, let's say for example, you try and get all of this that I've mentioned here into a 30-second ad, well, you're not going to really be covering enough to indoctrinate someone enough to want to come and check out what you have to offer. You probably didn't do enough displayed understanding to really convince someone that you understand your problem if you just did 30 seconds of beginning, displayed understanding, end. Like, it really wouldn't feel like enough. But then vice versa is that if you get to the end of your video and it's 4 or 5 minutes long, now that's not to say that video ads don't work like that. Okay, some video ads that are that length work. In fact, we have some video ads out there that are that long and they do work. That's because we've been doing this a long time, or we're constantly testing new things. But say you get to 4 or 5 minutes long, well, then you may have gone on just that bit too long that you might have bored your audience, if I'm completely be quite frank. Okay, people's attention span, like I mentioned in the beginning, are like goldfish right now, and you don't want to over explain too much in your video that you get to the end and actually by that point they've left because they're like, oh man, I need to hear about this solution, but we're not there yet and we're 3 minutes in. I don't really want to stick around any longer. So really the sweet spot that we look at is probably about 1.5 minutes long. 1 minute to 2 minutes, you know, that kind of area is what we're kind of looking for, and that's the sweet spot that we found when testing these 400 or so YouTube advertisements. So as promised in the beginning of this video, now I want to go through a really, really simple video script structure that you can use in bullet point form to just go through, know what order to put all this kind of stuff into, to then have a profitable video ad out the other end. I like the number 5 today, so we're doing 5 parts to this video ad. Number 1 is calling them out. Okay, you need to make sure you call out who they are. In that first 5 seconds, who are they? Okay, on top of that, and this kind of leads on perfectly to number 2, is what are they currently struggling with? Now, you want to try and get one of those in your first 5 seconds, so who they are and what they're struggling with in that first 5-second intro. But then you keep going, and you keep going into this displayed understanding. And if you aren't quite sure still what that is, then go back and check out the part that I talked about in this video. But that's where you go in deep with their pains and frustrations. You spend a good amount of time, I'd say a good 30 to 40 seconds, then going into the pains and frustrations you know they're going through, and displaying the understanding that you have of their situation. So that's number 2. Number 3 is then, why do you understand their struggles so well? This is where you would either tell a bit about your story, or about your clients, or a bit about the journey as to why you understand what you just broke down for them in the section that we just went through. Number 4 is that journey that you just mentioned. How did it lead to you coming up with a solution that you then want to offer them? What is your solution? How did you come up with the solution, and what are the outcomes of when they implement your solution? And number 5 is give them the opportunity to get it. Offer them the opportunity to come and get your solution, whether it is an online training, a webinar, a lead magnet, a downloadable PDF, which is a lead magnet, or having a call, or whatever it is, whatever your next step is to come and check out. That's where we give them the opportunity to come and check out and get the solution that you just offered to them, or at least explained in the video ad itself. And that leads perfectly onto my last and final kind of bonus point, is that once you have a video ad structured in the way that I've just gone through, taken those 5 pillars, put them into your 5 steps of a video ad, well, now you have such an amazing marketing message and a marketing machine that you need to be taking them to the right place. There is no point writing an ad or writing a piece of content using the things that I've just gone through and then sending them to somewhere rubbish, quite frankly. You need to have a sales process that ultimately takes them from where you've just got them to and perfectly leads them through to someone who wants to become a client. There are so many sales funnels out there and sales strategies out there that would just waste that perfectly good video ad that you just did because you've not taken them through the ideal journey. And so what we do is we take people from a video ad into a webinar funnel. And you've probably heard of a webinar funnel before. And if you haven't, well, there's plenty of videos on this YouTube channel that you can check out. But what I recommend is really at least trying to learn about that, because it is the best way to take someone from a video ad into a funnel, into a customer. And if you're interested, we actually have an upcoming online training that is going to be happening really, really soon. I can't quite remember what the dates are, but it's coming up really, really soon. I'd love to invite you to it. It's going to be John doing all the teaching. Obviously, John is the master when it comes to the webinar and the presentation and the sales process. And so he's going to be breaking that down for you on an extensive training. And you can kind of click the link that is in the description box or the top comment, and you can come and check out what is going to be taught on that training and kind of how you can get access to it. And if you're interested in seeing this in action, then John's actually shot a video breaking down 3 of our most profitable video ads that we've ever created. And that video is going to be up here for you to check out if you want to click that. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. Okay, we put out so much good content and put so much time and effort into wanting to provide value to you guys. So press the subscribe button. If you like this video, let me know in the comments and by liking. And I hope to see you in another video, but it's probably going to be John in the next one. Have a good day.